A group of leaders from top tech companies in Canada and the U.S., they're meeting this month to address anti-Black racism in artificial intelligence. They're going to be joined by Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne to discuss AI and address anti-Black racism with its continued development and use. For more on this conversation, we're joined live now by Lekan Olawoye. He is the founder and CEO of the Black Professionals in Tech Network. Lekan, thanks so much for joining us to talk about this.
Thank you for having me.
Something I don't think we're talking about enough. Do you feel that way as well?
I think we're a little bit nonchalant about it right now. When we're thinking about, AI and automation, it's good for business. It's good for industry. It's good for, even, our economy. But we need to make sure that how do we do it responsibly? How do we do it in a way that it's not institutionalizing racism? Right, and I think we're beginning to have that dialogue right now at the most executive levels, right? And it's important dialogue for all of us to have.
Absolutely. You say you have concerns about the dangers of racial bias in artificial intelligence. I want you to dig a little deeper and tell me about the dangers there. What is the problem and what are the dangers?
So we have sort of two things that I usually talk about. So there's a few of companies in the U.S. that have done some early testing around this, and they looked at use cases, and two specific use cases. One for hiring talent, using AI to hire talent. The second is using AI to actually, build out procurement. Who does business with you? On the procurement side, they looked at their data and they did some early testing, and they said, we want to, find good vendors quicker, faster, cheaper. And they went into their process and they built AI models to do it. And they learned very quickly that they started to remove underrepresented minorities, people like you and I, right? And they never got Black talent. They never got female, vendors. And they realized very quickly that the data was just saying, you historically never chose these people, so they must be seen as bad. The second, they looked at talent, and they said, we want the best talent quicker, we want to do it faster, right? And the algorithm started to exclude women because it began to find that you never historically hired women. So anybody, even someone who identifies as a male, that may have some things in their resume that, may be biased, right, began to exclude them. So early on, you found that this thing was excluding visible minorities and people that are historically underrepresented. And then you look at Black people, and you look at how AI has negatively represented Black people. All of that, we began to say, hey, if we're not intentional, if we're not on the ground floor, as we're having these dialogue, how will our children remember us? What type of society, what type of business landscape will we build that has institutionalized, without us even knowing, right, racial biases against Black people and against historically underrepresented communities? Without
us even knowing. That's so important for you to say. That is very powerful what you said, and I think a lot of people aren't even thinking about that. So you are now calling for a discussion about this. You're holding what you're describing as a pivotal event, a lot of VIPs in one room to address anti-Black racism in the AI space. Talk to us about the idea behind the event and what you're hoping the takeaways will be.
So the Roundtable is a dialogue. It's an in-person dialogue with CIOs, Chief Information Officers, Chief Technology Officers from the biggest companies in Canada and in the US to say, we are all thinking about AI, right? That's just the reality, and we should be, right? Canada cannot be left behind. As we are thinking about that, how do we intentionally think about anti-Black racism within our algorithm, within our AI models, within our data? A lot of people say AI is smart enough to find bias if we teach it. And then we say, who's teaching it? If you don't have the right people, the right talent to teach it, we don't even know what we don't know, right? So I think that is the opportunity that we are now beginning to think about really intentionally.
And do you think most companies are doing that, thinking intentionally in that way?
I think companies are beginning to think that. So the first roundtable we did in October, we came out of that and we said, what is the thing we can do right now? We said, how do we make sure we hire a diverse group of people to ask the right questions? So a group of companies, right, led by TD, said, you know what? We are going to hire Black talent through a product called Obsidi Academy. We are going to train, we're going to hire Black talent, and we're going to make sure that they are representative and they can be part of how we are building talent.
Okay. Lekan Olawoye, thank you so much for this conversation. We really appreciate it, and good luck at the event.
Thank you so much.